Okay, so I'm going to talk today about the role of frequency in non-dual awakening. And this is kind of a continuation of the last video I made, but there's like some nuances that came through that I wanted to share, and I'm excited to share. So I talked about in my last video how when you realize like no self, it's like there's this map, this is a popular map of, I don't know if it's a Buddhist map or maybe it's like a multi traditional map where it's like I am this, and then presence and energy, and then the I awareness, and then the no experiencer. And so my message in that video was there's no, right, you can realize the no self and you're still going to express as an individual. And so I'm going to elaborate a little more on the role of frequency and energy in a non-dual awakening, because real non-dual awakening includes the individual. And so this is like a perfect crystal to illustrate my point, because let's say this is the no self, right? And you have like your energy field here, but it has all these kind of sharp edges or tears. And so these are parts of your mind that don't know that they don't know their true nature. So what does anchoring frequency do? What role does it play? So even if you have had a very like emphatic like reality of knowing yourself as no self, right? There's no experiencer, there's nobody here. You have realized this truth. Your physical expression is still manifesting, right? It's still manifesting. And if there are parts of your mind that are very, like you have some pretty deep psychological sticking points, which for a lot of people can be codependency. A lot of people can be like low self-confidence, right? I talk about how our divine qualities are not just loving awareness, but the ability to master every situation, the ability to create with confidence, because we know that we are literally creation itself. We're literally the creative principle. And that knowing that I am creator is not in conflict with no self. It's like no self, like there's nobody here, right? But it's like the unborn then does give birth, right? You being everything, being that, you give birth with intention, right? You are also the creative principle. And so the role of frequency, what frequency does, it's very effective in healing, in bringing these parts into a conscious awareness of wholeness. Because you could be out here and you could know, oh, I'm whole, I'm the whole universe. But yet, like in a situation where you're in debt, or where you're, maybe somebody has betrayed you, or maybe like, I don't know, lots of various human situations can occur. And then these parts of you feel frozen, or feel unable to act, or feel unable to create. And the thing is, like, if you are believing the teaching, like just sit and watch, and that's some people's journey, like, like the surrender experiment, just like without giving any attention to your preferences, just watch. And that could be your like what you want to experience, how you want to experience life. But Michael Singer may have been a very, like, relatively speaking, psychologically put together human being. You can't like compare yourself to others. I, for example, I didn't have a very strong ego or a strong sense of self. I was very fractured. And I came from some pretty like a lot of like, I was exposed to a lot of like darkness and abuse and violence. And so like, even though I was ejected into this, like all of a sudden, like parts of my mind, right, were not in alignment with this. They were in alignment with like, I am loving awareness, but they weren't in alignment with, oh, I have the confidence to create. I have the confidence to, You know, I can feel safe answering the calling of my heart. I can leave this situation. The world won't fall apart if I do what is in my heart, right? If I stop being a people pleaser, right? All of these very real psychological issues are here in this fractured energy. And so anchoring the frequency of wholeness in your mind or in your energy, it brings these into alignment so that your emanation can like really shine. You can really shine into reality. And you shining into reality is like the greatest act of love. God is love, and God is expressing, as its action is to express. And like, so we are God's love. And so, but if our love is obstructed by our lack of confidence or our doubting, like part of our mind doubts ourselves as creators, then the energy is going to dam up, and you're going to feel it as like low self-esteem or despair, and so anchoring frequencies like wholeness, joy. You know, I prefer frequencies like not necessarily emotions. For some people, like trying to walk in appreciation all day is like simply not accessible to them. So you have to try. Like for me, wholeness and appreciation at this point comes naturally to me, but it didn't for a while. And so for me, like the energy of wholeness, that was accessible because I had the experience of myself, of what I am, and I could just feel it's like a very soft, settled, like it's something that my heart desires, like in form, to be conscious of wholeness. So when you become conscious of wholeness in your mind, what happens is you are educating all of these parts, right? By working in your energy field, instead of observing them and fixing them or trying to address them individually, instead you're just choosing wholeness. So eventually, right, it might go back and forth. Some of the pieces you might need to address with more attention certain of these pieces because they're so familiar to you, right? Codependency might be so familiar to you that you mistake it with true love. Codependency might be so familiar to you that you might think that you're feeling inspired in a relationship situation where the reality is you're in a sticky web of codependency. So the wholeness, the practicing of anchoring frequencies, creates contrast between these parts of yourself that are stuck in limited human understandings or fear-based understandings, so that the emanation of yourself can radiate into the world with ease, right? So it's one thing to observe, and it's another thing to choose wholeness. And what happens is when you're conscious of wholeness in a feeling way, in a feeling energetic way, when you're conscious of wholeness, when you sense something, right, it becomes real to you. So it becomes real to these pieces that I am whole. So what happens is you have rebuilt the super highway. You could think of that like kind of as your Sushumna channel. You have rebuilt the highway that spirit is like shining through you by anchoring the frequency of wholeness. Having an experience, being shot out of form, being the observer, it doesn't necessarily address this. Depends on your constitution. Your constitution might automatically include the feeling of wholeness when you're in the realization of wholeness, but a lot of people are disconnected from feeling for various reasons. That was myself included. So it's almost like the feeling, it gives spirit a reason to want to manifest here. If you're unwilling to be in this, spirit will not come in, and the integrity of the body will start to be compromised and everything like that. So in my world, non-duality and energy and individuality and frequency, they're not mutually exclusive. They all go together. And so I'm trying to teach like the science of like how to bring spirit like all the way into the body so that it radiates into your life, so that you radiate as your radiation is love and sovereignty. And have you ever have you ever been in someone's presence who's radiating that, and simply being in that energy like starts to dissolve the limited parts of your mind? Like, that's the ultimate act of love, to be able to anchor that into this world. So energy, anchoring frequency, like, yes, fundamentally my fundamental nature is beyond energy, yeah, but I want my fundamental nature to be expressed in the energy of my form. So that includes bringing the parts into wholeness. So that's where energy comes in. That's what I will elaborate much more on. That's what I'm really passionate about. So I hope this clears up. I know if you're tuning into me, like, you're probably like a really sincere like devotee, or like seeker of truth, or desire of wanting to embody truth, and I'm sharing with you my journey, and how it's like played out here. And some people are not like resonating with like the fact that I speak about energy or include energy as part of my expression or part of the teaching of how to embody true nature. But that's, then perhaps I'm not the messenger for you. I'm very much going to speak about and include energy and mind, and how to bring the whole system into integrity so that you can radiate your nuclear love and energy and divinity into this world. So that's my message. Have a good day.